So I turn on the news tonight and I'm looking and of course what's in the news, right? Ebola. you know. But this time now it's really getting to be ridiculous. I turn on the news and I find out that there's Ebola in New York City. Well, it's a big city, you figure, there's a lot of people from different countries. You figure and it may be one of those people came from West Africa, a West African native. No, no. You find out a doctor came back and is infected, and you say, well, thank God it was a doctor. At least he's smart enough to recognize the symptoms and all that. And I'm sure he was like self-quarantining. No, no, no. He was out he was going bowling and he was going to the restaurant. I mean, I'm surprised. He didn't have a circle jerk with his friends. I mean, it's unbelievable what this guy did. And now he's saying, oh well, don't worry, he's in isolation. It's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous what's going on with this Ebola. Now, look, don't get me wrong. I don't think I'm going to get Ebola. It's not about that. But think about all the people in New York City who live in Manhattan, who live in that area where this guy's from. Well, he's actually from Jamaica, Queens. And think about how they must feel knowing that this guy just came back from Africa. He was swimming in Ebola patients. I mean, this guy was like, he had him up to his eyeballs. It wasn't like these two nurses. They were treating one guy. He was treating who knows how many, probably dozens of people that had Ebola, died of Ebola. I mean, this guy had to know that the thing he shouldn't be doing is running around and, why not just take with an abundance of caution, as the big phrase of the day now, the abundance of caution. No, he's not doing that. And, it's not entirely his fault, although I do blame him because he is a doctor. He should know better. If I had the guy that's the head of the Center for Disease Control, what's his name, Frieden, if I had him in front of me, I would love to just be able to ask him questions in my own way. Like one question I would ask him is, Dr. Frieden, you seem to think that it makes better sense to import people from Ebola-afflicted countries who might be infected with Ebola, but, they're still in the incubation period. You think that's better than a complete ban on flights? And the reason you think that is because if we banned flights, well, then we wouldn't be able to track these people. Like this doctor? Like this guy? Who went bowling? Did he bring his own bowling ball? He didn't go to one bowling alley, by the way. He went to two. And did he bring his own bowling ball? Or did he just go to the rack and say, oh, let me see. No, not this one. Let me go. Oh, no, not this one. Yeah, and now what do you think's going to happen to that bowling alley? They're going to call it the e-bowling alley. It's unbelievable. You gotta ban travel from and to and from these countries, and the people who want to come into this country, fine. I'm okay with letting people in from Ebola-afflicted countries. Fine. Go into quarantine for 21 days. And if, you come out and you're not bleeding from your eyeballs, okay, then, you go about your business. But it's insane. I mean, and, if you listen to this guy, Frieden, when he gives you that answer, well, we can't have people coming here because, we'll lose track of them and they could get into the country, through our porous borders. Oh, no kidding. You're an Obama administration official and you think our borders are porous? Did you ever think of talking to your boss about fixing that? I mean, because there's something that we might be able to all agree on something here, that the borders are porous. But let's get back to the travel ban. You also think that people might, do what they call broken travel. They'll travel to some other country and then they'll come here, and they call that broken travel. I have a question about that. Does that make it easier or harder to get here? And if you're somebody who wants to desperately get to the United States because you're afraid you have Ebola and you're still in the incubation phase and you want to get sick in America because you know you have a better chance of surviving there. Wouldn't a travel ban make it harder to do that? Wouldn't you be more inclined to want to go to some country in Europe that's still taking people? I don't know. Isn't that common sense? I mean, if you're an African and you're living in Africa and you have the unfortunate circumstance that you think that you've been infected with Ebola because it's all around you and people you know had it and you've been exposed, what would you do? Would you say, let me try to go as far away as I can to America, or would I try to somehow desperately get into Spain or some other country that is closer by that has, reasonably decent medical facilities that may help me survive? I mean, wouldn't you do that? And we're talking 150 people. So wouldn't it make sense to just say, okay, we're going to ban the flights for 150 people, and if 150 people want to come, we got to put them in quarantine? Why can't we just do that? Does that make too much sense? I mean, after a while, what you have to understand, Mr. Frieden, is it's not that the public thinks that there's going to be this massive Ebola outbreak. I'm sure some people think that, but I don't think most people think that. I think most people just would like to see a government that knows what the hell it's doing. And just when they say something is going to happen, that something happens, and not the opposite of that something. Because everything that is said, the opposite seems to happen. And how many times do you think you have to do that before you've completely undermined your authority? And nobody thinks that they owe you any respect for your authority at all. How long does it take for that to happen? Just a thought.